just to get the win like license. Popping it like oxygen when boxes wet. Focus on the mental, never lose like smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move in a pinto. Choose what I get to, never lose smooth on the move, but it's simple. Never give up if we want it, and maybe we just keep winning, we conquering daily. Envision that pay me is never this.
Tuesday. Welcome in, everybody. It's Divots and Pivots. I'm Andrew LeDuc, aka Mr. Mallow, joined as always by Mr. Bud Copeland. And as always, Divots and Pivots brought to you by Acorn Hills. That's acornhillsco.com. Go over there. Use TBFY 15. I almost got it wrong. TBFY 15.
We're off, and we're off
for your discount code. And we're gonna get a rolling hit. We got a bunch of stuff to cover. We got breaking news on Tiger Woods' injury. We got Brian who's gonna join us here in just a minute to break that down for us. We got the players this week. We got Luke Clanton coming through again. I know you're gonna want to talk about that, so I'll let you tee us up for that when that comes. But first and foremost, as always, where's the morale level, Bud? I'm very curious to hear where it is.
There's layers to this story. So welcome everybody into Tuesday night. The report that I texted you earlier is accurate. This is non-alcoholic beer, as always. Shout out Athletic and their Run Wild IPA. But morale, as usual, is good. Morale's high here in Witch City Studios, and so am I, because I'm not a big pharmaceuticals guy. I don't do the painkiller thing. You know, everybody danced with pills in college for a couple minutes. But I'm in a lot of pain. But every day's the Super Bowl, so we're going to show up. Last night at about, I don't know, it was like 11:15. I was sitting there and I was dozing off on the couch. I'd been watching something with the roommate and everything. We put Junior to bed, and also we hear this thud outside, and she fell out of her bed. So we run back there, and we're like, "Hey, you okay?" Whatever. And I was like eating popcorn, and I think I hit a kernel or something, because out of nowhere, a couple minutes later, I was, "Ow! What the?" And the back of my molar, I put my tongue back there, and I was like, "Where's part of my tooth?"
Oh no!
Where there's a part of my tooth missing. And when I tell you pain, I was like, it started to sink in what it was, and then the wah wasn't going to go away. And I think it was about 5:30 this morning, 5:45, when I finally, like, just exhausted, just passed out from, like, I was walking laps. So morale's good. It's not a pity party for Boudreaux. We're here for the Players Championship, but I did have to go to the Mother Nature for her pharmaceutical help with managing this pain. So if the rants are a little more rantish, or the cuts are a little deeper, that's why this evening. I'm pumped, man. I was on with Jeff Hartman last night. Fairways and Dreams is the name of his podcast over the Golfer Gang Network, and we were talking about the players. He was getting me all jazzed up. We were going down memory lane. We've done that on this show before, so I'll spare you all the details if things come up that are relevant, for sure. But those of you who don't know, this is one of the biggest weeks of the year for me. I grew up in this place down in Jacksonville and Ponte Vedra area. Going back to this place all throughout my life. That's the original clubhouse over my shoulder there. That's the walk up to the Champions locker room. If you're listening to the podcast, it's just a big wooden, like, a pyramid. Actually, is what it was. It was like a big wooden pyramid. Here. And let's get this in there real quick. And then I still have, that's my parents, like, one of the many old, like, membership cards. It's my bookmark. So yeah, there you go. That was the first time I think I went out there. What we got?
Yeah, that really is like a pyramid. And then with that Wendy style sunroom out the front.
Yeah, I think I said that when you see this picture, when you see the old clubhouse, it just starts Holiday Road from National Lampoon's Vacation starts playing. It just screams 80s. This is it, man. And listening to Commissioner Jay do his State of the Union or State of Golf, so to speak. We'll get into that too in a little bit. It feels like, I don't know. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Morale's high. Things are good. Like you said, there's a lot of news, ironically enough, in a week that should have been news other ways, but it turns out, and it looks like there was things we didn't see coming. And then let's see, off the course. No, nothing, man. Life's good.
All right.
It feels like we're in a weird, March Madness. That's what's around the corner.
There's too much going on right now to even talk about that yet. There's just too much because, like you said, this week there's a bunch of news. Let's get to the news because we do actually want to go a little old school on you guys, back to the previous seasons, and talk about some players. There's the mascot.
I love you, Dad. You're the best.
I love you, Coop. You're the best.
So
Sorry,
yeah,
that's
we
my
want
turn.
later on in the show here. We are going to talk some players. We're going to talk some numbers, and we'll do all that. But first and foremost, we do have a guest, Brian Scott from the Injured List
Oh
podcast.
God, did I ramble and just leave Brian waiting? I apologize.
That's okay. He's joining us now to talk the Tiger Woods injury. If you did miss it earlier today, a Tiger put out a statement saying that as he started to ramp up his training and his practice for what I'm assuming the upcoming Masters, he felt a pain, a sharp pain in his ankle, and went to the doctor, and Achilles rupture. So first and foremost, Brian, I know you're took a few minutes away from all the football news to get on our level for golf. Let's start with this. What is the difference between a rupture and a tear? Because we see the Achilles tear, the Aaron Rodgers injury, and whatnot in football. But we're not really used to this injury in golf. The Achilles injury, it doesn't happen a ton in golf. So just can you start off by explaining the difference for us there?
Yeah, and thanks for having me on, fellas. Enjoy the show. Love what you guys are doing. Great content. As a somewhat of a golf fan, I love playing. Not so much watching, but I love playing. And Bud, man, I feel for you, brother. When you have the bite pressure and clamp down pressure of an alligator, this is what happens. You hit a kernel, and all hell breaks loose in a tooth.
When you're talking about the big cat's ruptured Achilles that we're getting into, I feel like kind of like a little bit of a bitch, and that I got an exposed nerve that I'm going in tomorrow morning for just a shot in a root canal. But
no. What I was about to get to, I'd rather have the Achilles rupture
Yeah.
and deal with what you're dealing with right now, and that is no joke. The Achilles rupture, usually the pain is very instantaneous, and as quickly as it comes, it goes away. To be honest with you, most people are not in a tremendous amount of pain when that injury occurs. And to go back to your question, Drew, there's no difference between a tear and a rupture. A tear is just a layman's term to describe an injury to a tendon or muscle tissue. And there's severities and degrees of tearing. Essentially, a third-degree tear, which is the worst tear you have, is a rupture.
Mm-hmm.
So that's apparently what Tiger Woods was diagnosed with. As he proclaimed in his own post earlier today, he had surgery already to repair it with what he called a minimally invasive technique. And what this essentially is what's called a PARS, P-A-R-S. It's an acronym. Percutaneous.
How fitting.
thank you for the golf shout out there.
That wasn't a pun, actually. It's a true acronym that we use in surgery. It stands for percutaneous Achilles repair. And it's done through a very small incision using special little instrument to help pass these very nice high tensile sutures to basically weave it through the tendon to repair it and bring it back together. So it allows us to have a little bit quicker recovery than we would traditionally, compared to open Achilles where you have to do a big whack and expose the tissue and everything and then hand suture it. So it's a little bit nicer in the healing process. It makes it a little bit better wound healing because sometimes that can be an issue with the Achilles surgeries. It has led to a little bit of a quicker rehab too, which brings us back to kind of Aaron Rodgers and him going through it. His technique, Aaron Rodgers, was a little bit different. I don't know if Tiger had the same thing. It's possible. That kind of really depends on where the Achilles ruptured, whether it was the middle portion or toward the end. That can kind of sway the type of surgery that we do. But the good news is, in a sport like golf, where the physical demand on the Achilles is not nearly as traumatic or as intense as a sport like football or basketball, let's say, the time to actually get back to sport, in my estimation, is going to be a heck of a lot quicker. Normally with a guy like Aaron Rodgers or anybody with an Achilles rupture in football, you're looking at about 9 months. And we talked about this on TSS and some of the other shows. There was no way Aaron Rodgers was coming back. Okay,
Right.
And I made that prediction right at the beginning. With Tiger's case, we could see him back in as quick as 3 to 5 months on the golf course, taking regular swings. That's not unheard of. And he could even do the TGL that quickly too. I mean, the demands, like I said, are a lot different. So the only problem is like a guy like Tiger, dude. He's had some really serious injuries
Fuck.
in a sport that doesn't
Yeah.
really require a lot of physical strain. And part of that is because he apparently, from what we understand, is a freakish workout guy. Like he goes heavy, trains hard. Then you throw in that little car accident mishap that jacked up his right leg. Apparently, this Achilles injury was on the opposite side, so now he's got 2 bum wheels. Not ideal for a guy who likes to do a lot of working out and stay in shape. But as far as his golf game goes, this shouldn't play a major long-term issue for him. I think we'll see him as good as he was before this Achilles injury. And he should be back fairly quickly.
Ironically enough, this could be a couple of things here. Thank you so much for that insight. First of all, it sounds to me like at the upfront, you were saying, I mean, everybody knows less is more, like you said, with surgery or any kind of invasive thing, less is more. So it sounds to me like you're saying now, because of less is more, we're going in there with video game cameras and like remote control needles and like sewing shit back together. Is that like what we're doing nowadays?
This doesn't require any of the scope or like
Okay,
cameras or stuff like
okay.
that. This is simply we
Like just
basically
pulling it
make a
together?
smaller incision, identify where the tear is, use some special things to kind of weave the suture through the skin into the tendon and then out the skin.
Okay.
It all gets
Okay. I love how
tied
Andrew and I are
together.
nodding like, yes. Okay. Yeah.
I
See,
remember
thought-
that now.
Everything gets repaired internally,
But-
but we kind of weave it. It's from an external to an internal kind of thing. So it just allows us to make a smaller incision.
But to your point about Tiger and his workout, one of my best friends, I've referenced him on the show before. He was a Navy SEAL for 10 years, and he hooked me up with a guy who was out in Coronado in Southern California doing stuff when Tiger would come through. People forget about this. Tiger would finish his tournaments on Sunday, and he would get on his jet, go straight to San Diego, and Monday morning he'd be working out with the SEAL teams. He'd be working out with the buds. And I was asking this guy, what was he like? What was he doing? He goes, he didn't want to talk about golf. He's like, the only time they ever really talked about golf was when they were all standing around, a shooting range, asking him like, "Could you hit this target? Could you hit that target?" He goes, and he's like, "I could. Could you?" And then they pulled up their guns and they all started shooting. And he's like, that was the closest we got to golf really with him, other than him challenging us on his knees. And we saw the Barstool content with Riggsy, and everybody knows how that turned out.
Yeah.
But it in his books, or in books about him, in the conversations like that, talking to these guys, who he has a maniacal addiction to whatever's in front of him. And I think what happened was when he started getting hurt, recovery became the goal. Okay. Well, then recovery becomes activity, becomes therapy, becomes working out. Now exercising becomes my obsession. And he was always, when you go back, he was a string bean. He was a tiny little thing. He was a sinewy body, as they would say back in the day. And then he started having to kind of get healthier because of the injuries, et cetera. We see this all in sports. So it has led to this obsession where I think he's going to recover and be fine. And I do think this is going to be a blessing in disguise, because perhaps 5 to 8 months, just very generous ballpark there. Great. That's 5 to 8 months where he can focus on the recovery only and not worry about maybe side appearances here. Do I have to play in that major? God, I really want to walk at Augusta, because it's the walking. You're right. And for a golfer, it's not about, he even said that's why half the reason he did TGL, so he could have something where he can hang with these boys for a little while longer. So whether it's Augusta or anywhere else, we're talking about walking 4 or 5 miles a day, 4 or 5 days a week. And on top of that, having to swing a golf club. So it's the walking more so than anything. But I think this could also be a kind of a blessing for Big Cat. He can just put 25 on the shelf and focus for fall and then 26.
I have a few concerns, though. Given his history with the pain medication, addiction issues, alcohol, his whole, run-in with law enforcement and his ex-wife there, you certainly have to worry that he doesn't head down that path again. Anytime you're having surgery, there's pain involved. Like I said, this surgery, for the most part, is not nearly as painful as some of the stuff he dealt with the other leg when he had the car accident. So hopefully, prayers up for him. He doesn't end up down that road again. But then you also have to look at, what does this do to his conditioning? Because he's going to be set down for a little bit. It's going to be hard for him, because it's a lower extremity injury, to kind of maintain the fitness that he acquired up until this point. And when you're dealing with chronic low back issues from all those surgeries he's had in his back, you're dealing with that right lower leg issue that he had major surgeries on, times multiple.
Just coming back from that.
And you're just kind of peaking from that, really. And now you're asking him on the good leg to then go back out there, walk at a major. It's going to be a long road, and it's going to affect him to some degree in that major. The TGL, not so much, but hopefully it gives him enough time to get through his recovery. He can do it smoothly with no hiccups this time, and we see Tiger like we know Tiger to be.
Well, luckily for him, TGL is done for him now. Unless they do something like we have speculated that maybe they bring it back in the fall. We'll see. But at this point, I don't think it would happen this year anyways. So TGL, he won't be doing that again until sometime in January. So because his team, like our Boston Frogs, sucked. And they are not in the playoffs that start next week, which I was very disappointed about because I was thinking
6 teams in the league. 6 teams in the league. We can't make the Final Four. Just saying.
I was thinking they would start in last night. I was so excited. Then I looked at the date. I was like, damn it, it's the 17th. Yeah.
It's a special week.
It's Players Week. It's a special week. Special week. All right, Brian. Well, thank you so much for the insight on Tiger. Real fast for all of our viewers, let them know where they can find you most and what you do, and then we'll let you get out of here.
I mean, things kind of simmered down for me, like you mentioned. Now that football's over, so I'm kind of just chilling in the background for most stuff. But I am preparing my big NFL draft show, which I do every year. So I'm kind of scouting out some athletes that will be entering the draft for the NFL and with injury history. So that will be coming out before the draft here and before you know it. And, as we get closer to the start of training camp, you'll be seeing more of me.
Fantastic. Always want to see more of you. Thanks again, Brian. And we will catch you next time there's an injury that's worth talking about in the world of golf. Have a good night.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, bud. So let's get back into because the other than Tiger Woods, because Tiger Woods can easily take over a news cycle in the world of golf. Understandably, there was other news. I know you want to get to Jay and his State of the Union, as you said, but real fast because you mentioned it last week. The Seminole Classic. Luke Clanton goes out and just wins it again. 2 years in a row, I believe it was.
The Seminole Pro-Am. I didn't see the results. Are you breaking news to me?
I mean,
Seminole
apparently. Then again, you've been a little out of it today, so I guess that's I would have thought you were coming all ready
at
to
the
go.
2025 Seminole Pro-Am member held on it. Bill Davis and Billy Horschel won the gross division. Ryan Fox and Jimmy Dunn won the net.
Wait, what did Luke Clanton win then? I'm wrong then. I saw Seminole and Luke Clanton.
Oh man,
Oops.
you are so right. Seminole would be where Luke Clanton goes to school. He's a Florida State.
That's what it was.
So Seminole, Luke Clanton. He got his tour card.
So he got his tour card and he won his past 2 NCAA events in a row.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. Love it. Love the NCAA thing. I think the bigger picture is that PGA Tour card, and yet once again, we have another star in the making. Homegrown, homebred in the era of live. So Jay Moynihan today. Are we ready? Are we ready to get into this and his comments? So it is the Players Week, and if you're listening and you're this deep into the show and you don't know what the Players is, thanks for hanging in there. I mean, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's our sparkling personalities, but the Players. This is the keys to Jeff Hartman again. Shout out Fairways and Dreams. Catch that episode. He asked me, "Is this the 5th major?" And honestly, I had always reflexively said yes. And before I say anything, what are your thoughts on the 5th major? I mean, I was just pivoting us back to the Players. I'm going to save the Jay Moynihan comments for a minute. Teaser. They call that a tease in the industry, I guess, sometimes. But let's get back to that. I thought that was a great question because it does come up quite often around this tournament. Is it the 5th major in golf?
Right.
Or should it be? You can take, you don't have to be, it's not binary, it's 2025. We're not just in a binary world anymore.
So I was thinking about this recently, actually, the other day. And as I've grown as a golf fan over the last 20 years or so, it's just always been referred as that. That's how I've always heard it. So it's just been like kind of, for me, it's always been, yeah, sure, it's the 5th major. I get it. But what's funny is that I saw a list in some sort of article the other day, and they listed that they were talking about majors in golf, and they listed they just called it the majors. And the Players was on that list. They automatically included in there, even though it's not. And for some reason, when I read that list and saw that, I went, no, it's the Players is not a major. Like whoever wrote this article doesn't know what they're talking about. The Players is not a major. And I think now I realize that I kind of like it to stand on its own outside of being labeled a major. I think it means something different than the majors mean to these players, if that's even possible.
In the universe, yeah, it is possible, and I appreciate that insight. Thanks for playing our game. I used to say like you, yeah, reflexively, I wanted to say yes to be a contrarian, just to be the like, of
Right.
course it is, and then say no, it's not. In the world we live, pun intended,
Mhm.
the PGA Tour has the luxury to do what you're talking about, to deny or refuse major status for this, no matter what, because this is the PGA Tour's event. They own it top to bottom. It's their
Yep.
flagship thing, yada, yada, yada. I will say, I can't speak for everybody, but if you do have a chance to ever go down to Sawgrass and have like, you're going to go all in on one of those golf trips, it's worth it. I mean, it's worth the hype, the experience, the whole bit. The course is always immaculate, et cetera, et cetera. Justin Thomas even talking about that, how like he's surprised at just how it's always every time. Cause when you're a tour pro too, this is your home course. You can come here anytime you want. There's legends of there's great legendary stories of the range on the backside, which is for the tour pros only. No caddies, no family members, tour pros only. And to this day, you can go out there and VJ Singh is out there, 4 or 5 days a week working on his game. Billy Horschel plays out of there. A lot of the tour guys who live, close by play out of there a lot. That might not be their official club. So it's in this world where it's the big shiny object of the PGA Tour. Now, riddle me this. Take the PGA Tour out of the equation, and what happens to the other majors? They have to learn how to organize themselves. The PGA Tour is a natural feeding ground for these bigger tournaments. Without the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour and organized golf as it is, it's tough. And so then I go back to who gets to decide, what a major is. The Western Open used to be called a major. The Western Open is now, I don't know what it is now, but I'm saying it's still, no, it's the BMW in Chicago is what it is. Sorry.
Okay.
But at the Western Amateur and the Western Open, they used to be considered, kind of major status. Ben Hogan won a handful of each, or a handful of the Western Opens, and everybody talks about how that pads his stats, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess, if you look at the 4 current majors, the common theme is that there are, at certain given points in time, there are these singular governing bodies of golf that could plant their flag down and say, we are in charge here. We're the ones who are making the, moving the needle. We're the needle, damn it. Starting with the RNA, that's how the Open Championship happened. Hey, all the clubs, you want to send your best and we'll determine this once and for all. Now that Joe Shit the Rag Man kicked the can. And then, you skip ahead 30, 40 years and you have the USGA. Same kind of thing. We have these 6 member clubs, and then like, hey, let's hold a tournament. Let's find out who the best golfer is. And then they did that with their amateurs as well. The amateur, which is the British Amateur, British Open, US Amateur, US Open. That's the Bobby Jones Grand Slam. That used to be the 4 majors of golf. Well, once these clubs started kind of, there's cracks in the exclusivity armor of the golf world now, even though it was still an uber white and private, space. It's evolved. But when that happened, when all of a sudden, you started seeing glimpses into these places, along comes Augusta National. And, Bobby Jones himself, Mr. Majors, saying, damn it, I think we as golfers, as these people who have been the dancing monkeys, for the circus and all these years watching everybody else, maybe we need a tournament. And he's like, you think about how arrogant that is. I'm the greatest in the game, therefore. But then again, Tiger and TGL. Let me create my own league. All right, so back to Bobby Jones. So you got this group that creates Augusta National, and they're like, we're going to be the elites in golf. So that's how it started. It still kind of is representative of the private side of golf, the elites side of golf, the most influential people in golf. Right there in Augusta National, this is our championship. And then you have the PGA of America. That's the next wave. The USGA is going to hold on to amateur golf, and they still have a stranglehold on amateur golf and all things nationally golf. So the professional, the teaching, the instructional side of the game is standing there, and we're like, hey, we're all the people keeping this game alive, whether some of us play in these big tournaments or not. There's the PGA Championship. So each body kind of has always come forward, and now we have the players. We're 51 years into this damn thing. It's a major. It's the PGA Tour's major. It needs to be the payout, everything, the considerations. It has a higher exemption. It is a major. I challenge it's a major in everything but name. And
Mhm.
as I just laid out in a foolproof manner, it belongs in major status. The fact that we don't call it one, I think you're right, because it is the heartbeat. It is the thing that feeds everything else in the rest of the golf world. It can sit back and say, we don't need to be a major. We are who we are. We're kind of above all that, so to speak. So I love that question because I think it's evolved over the years where it used to be an automatic no. For a long time, it was an automatic yes. I think it just depends on what kind of person are you? Are you a contrarian? Do you like to argue and fight, or you just kind of like go with the flow?
Well, I think the important part is too is that like the thing that we like about all the majors, other than the picturesque courses and the extra coverage, is that it's always like the most concise group of the best golfers. Typically, we get to see them all competing against each other, and the most of the best of them at the same time. As long as the players keep treating the players tournament in that manner, then it's basically has the feel of a major anyways. Whether it has that title or not doesn't matter to me. As long as the players keep treating it as the way they do, where we get the majority of the best golfers in the world playing in it, then it's gonna still be regarded the way it is, whether it actually has the title of a major or not. I think that's the major title is just a little, I guess, overvalued for it, because I think the players it just stands alone so much as it is that it doesn't even need it. That's all.
What's ironic is I look at the live golf roster right now, and we're talking about the players, and of course, naturally, I'm going, who's not here?
Right.
There's a joke going around. John Rahm's outside of the top 50 now,
Yeah, do you see Michael Kim's post?
yeah, I love it.
It's like, oh, apparently I'm
Um,
a better golfer than John Rahm now.
You know what though? It's like I kind of say maybe you are maybe you are right now. Remember,
Right.
this whole system, this whole thing was built. The official World Golf Rankings is built on not just the PGA Tour. It's like 2
Mhm.
dozen. It's like 24 different tours. Again, we're talking upwards
Yeah.
of 1,000, guys, if not more, that feed into this. And so that's the system that helped you establish your prominence, and you want to remove yourself from that. All right, you better start winning everywhere else that group comes into contact, because no disrespect,
Right.
Sergio just won on Live Golf. Congratulations, Sergio. Does that mean all of a sudden that he's back in the talk of he should be considered one of the greatest golfers on the planet? No, this is kind of like if Kiz came out of the tower and snuck down the John Deere or something, which I don't think that's happening. Kind of weird to see Kiz up there in a suit. I can't wait to see
I
him on
know.
Sunday this week,
I was
because
gonna say,
I mean,
in that desk by the 17th and whatnot, like they did last year. I'm hoping.
well, I mean, he's gonna be in the 18th tower. He's on.
Oh, okay.
He's the main guy. So, and I think if you get a shot over their shoulder at some point, I've talked about this, that veranda that overlooks the 18th in the trophy ceremony area. Yours truly gave an excellent toast at my sister's wedding rehearsal there. But I look at this list, and this is the one tournament where I kind of see some names where I'm like, yeah, this would be a counter argument to my major status here, because
Okay.
there are some names here, and again, I think it's their fault, and I do think it's a snap. I don't think it's going to last. I don't think that they're feeding. I don't see Luke Clanton giving up his PGA Tour card to go for Live.
No.
I think they might snag a Tom McKibben here and there, that kind of stuff, but
Yep.
I don't. But some of these names would be, impactful this week. John Rahm, obviously, I'm not a dick. Tom
Yep.
McKibben would be pretty impactful. Sebastian Munoz, or sorry, not Sebastian Munoz. Peter Uline. They look so much alike. Peter Uline or Uline, whatever. He's a name that that is definitely worthy of mention in a global
Mhm.
setting. I hate him, but Patrick Reed is competitive here. Martin Keimer is usually competitive here.
Yep.
Mark Leishman is usually competitive here, although I think Leash might be a little over the
Yeah,
the
I
hill.
think so.
Joaquin Neiman is getting exemptions into other majors.
Yeah.
And then you go on down the line, there's a handful more, obviously, Cam Smith. And then I wouldn't say Phil Mickelson at this point, but Bryson DeChambeau certainly would be somebody to look after. So this is a week where I do think because it's not a major, you do kind of glimpse at all these players who got left out,
Yeah.
and think like, but I also consider it this way. They kind of opted out. They knew what they were getting into and
Mhm.
what they were giving up. So good luck to them. I send my best. The field this week is not weak. It's definitely kind of the hammers and the up and comers. And we're going to dig into that in just a second.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just looking at, like, for instance, the DK pricing. We'll talk about that more later. But we just mentioned Michael Kim, and this is a guy who's been. I'm trying to get to his name real fast, because he's had, I think, like 3 or 4 top 5 finishes in a row or something like that. He's just on fire right now. He's a guy who's just playing well. Let me see here. He is 2 straight top 5 finishes, but 3 top 5s in his last 5, and the 2 that he weren't in top 5, he was in top 15. So I mean, he's on a run right now, and he's someone that in this field you were able to get him at I think it was 5,900 on DraftKings. So yeah, 5,900 on DraftKings. So that just shows like his level of play right now, and he's still towards the bottom of this field. It just shows that these are the type of fields we love to watch for that reason. And if you're a betting person, like I said, we'll get to that in a little bit. There's value to be had this week in this field. There's a lot of good golfers playing, and they have to spread them out. So there's things to be taken advantage of. Before we get full blown fantasy on you here, which we haven't done in a while, do you want to hit us with that Acorn Hills read, bud, and then we'll move on to Jay?
Yeah, no read this week.
No
Y'all,
read this week. Okay.
Acorn Hills. We've been a long supporters of Acorn Hills. Acorn Hills is a long supporter of Divots and Pivots and everything for this bud's for you. Go over to acornhillsco.com. Use TBFY15 for 15% off. Here's the thing. Acorn Hills, the thing that I'm wearing right now, this is the black on black quarter zip.
Mm-hmm.
It's comfortable. It's light. It's vibrant. It's got pockets. You can dance in it. You can sing in it. You can play golf in it. But everything that he makes over there, I say he meaning Nate and the boys at Acorn Hills, comes from the same shit that you're seeing these guys on TV wear. He went and found out, where does FootJoy get their stuff made? Where does Titleist and FootJoy, Acushnet, Callaway, where are they going to get their distributors? And he went right to the source. And so when you buy an Acorn Hills product, you're getting an Acorn Hills product. You're not getting, no disrespect, but a custom ink tee with a logo slapped on it. It's not summer camp. This is a genuine clothing line that's also focused on sustainability, because when you get your stuff, you notice those little hang tags that always say, it's like, yeah, I know what I just bought, but it has to have a barcode, it has to have this. His are seed paper. So when you're sitting there going, oh, this is dope, and you take it off, you can just chuck it right out in your backyard if you want, because it'll disintegrate, it'll grow. You might have some wildflowers, so be careful where you toss it, especially if you have a nice green, pretty lawn. So yeah, every time you're buying from Acorn Hills, you're doing good as well, because he's got a partnership with the National Forestry Foundation. Every dollar that he makes, he donates a portion to them. They're planting trees, saving lives, making the world a better place. Go shop acornhillsco.com.
Definitely, we love Nate over there. Let's quickly get into Jay's State of the Union. State of the Union speech. The pretty annual, not pretty. It is an annual tradition here at the Players Championship to give this speech. And it's something that is usually like, we're not surprised when he deflects questions that he doesn't want to answer. It's just how he does things. It's part of the package at this point. But he did say some things in it that I think he used that kind of caught me off guard, at least. The main thing that he said that took me by surprise was when he actually mentioned Yasser Al-Ramayan.
God bless you. We just call him Yasser. Yasser.
When he actually mentioned him by name and said, we appreciate Yasser's innovative vision when talking about PIF and Live Golf. And his stating that he wants the reunification of the players between the tour and Live, and how that's real. And like, he didn't go down into details because he would then deflect, saying, refer to our previous statements. But I'm just surprised that he even mentioned his name in general out in public, that he even used the word reunification out in public, but considering that there's not a deal done. That's a little out of characteristic for him. I don't know how you feel about it, or if that even stood out to you, but for some reason, that's something that hit me.
Fair. Starting from the top, I agree. We got used to his deflections. Save you a lot of time. I just asked Chat GPT to re-summarize it for me as well. I was just curious. And sure enough, like, the same bullet points were there. Mm-hmm. But once he gets through his comments, it's all kind of, Andrew, I appreciate that question. Right. And if you, as I said earlier, we're really focused on the health of the tour and creating a product that we've known from our fan forward feedback website for fun and fantastic golf facts.
Right.
that I mean, that's all he does, which is fine. He's a politician, he's a leader. He's supposed to be up there kind of letting the people do their job and just give us little bits here and there. So we do end up doing what we're doing right now, which is reading between the lines. What did he say? What did he not say? How did he say it? Did he deflect? Did he actually call them by name? Did he engage? And we'll start with that. I like that, starting with the live comments, because I think it was sprinkled throughout. Some of the other stuff was much more nuts and bolts ish.
Yeah.
I'll start with your question. I'm not surprised to hear him use his name, because over the last couple of years, and just most recently with the meeting at the White House with Tiger, I think Scotty might have been there. Adam Scott, not Scotty Scheffler. I think Tiger, Adam, as from the Player Council, Jay, and Yasser, I think, were at the White House. I don't know if Yasser was there or not, but he was definitely at the UFC fight with Trump earlier this year. So we've seen him kind of poking his head up around in our neck of the woods. And I loved what the reporter asked. He's like, we can't ever get anything out of him. He doesn't come out and do this kind of stuff for the PIF. So we can't ask him about their specific investment or whatever in the PGA Tour Enterprises. And so, and I love how he goes, how would you think that what he would say, how it's going, which is a great way to, try to get, well, I'm not going to say anything, even though he obviously is. He was just talking about how he wants to draw some inspiration or integrate some of the live stuff. And that's what the reporter was trying to get at. What is that live stuff that you're referencing? And he wouldn't bite. He wouldn't engage. I think if we had to peel it back a little bit more, he would have said the pace of play. He would have just tied it back to, well, for one example from live, they seem to have gotten wrapped around the pace of play. Now we're not going to institute shotgun starts on the PGA Tour. It doesn't work with our field size, et cetera, et cetera. But the reaction they had and that's when he's like, back to our fan Ford. So on the live side of things, I wasn't shocked that he brought his name up. The reunification, that word,
I like it better than merger. I like that word better than merger.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it never was going to be a merger, and we've talked about it the whole time. It's always been about investment. It's always been about money. The Strategic Sports Group, which is basically the Fenway guys, LeBron and the gang, really Mr. Henry and the gang, but that's neither here nor there. But it's the Fenway. Do we really want to get into this now? I thought we were going to go the whole show. Who does own the Bruins? All right. Anyways,
different group.
Sorry, totally
Family.
different group. Is it really?
Yeah, it's still.
Are they going to get run out? I know dick about hockey. All I know is that Nose Face Killer is no longer in Boston, and he still says "we" when talking about the Bruins.
He's there tonight playing for the Panthers on Boston Ice, so that's a big.
Oh man, therapeutic. Thoughts and prayers to everybody at TD tonight. But Yasser doesn't have to talk about his investments, and Jay's not gonna pull it back anymore. But when it comes to elements from live, there's gonna be a little bit of a team thing. I could see them bringing over this idea that at the beginning of the year we're gonna kind of lock y'all in, and you're gonna have teams, and then there's always that little bit of an element of encouraging guys. Maybe throughout the year, people say, is that going to make you play harder or not as hard? I don't know. It's the game. It's a television show at the end of the day. And they're just trying to figure out the best TV product, blah, 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 blah. The reunification word, I think when he went into it, he was defining it as just getting the guys together more often. And I think that's kind of, he mentioned earlier, there were obstacles in the way to moving forward. And now those obstacles have been removed. Obstacle is American for Greg Norman. And now that Greg Norman has been removed from the scenario, we can move forward without that fucking 100%.
That's 100% what he was saying.
100%, because Tiger even said it. He's like, that's a big thing. And I even think he might have used the word obstacle in a previous statement. But
it's no surprise that all of a sudden they started moving negotiations along again once he was gone. I mean, they were obviously waiting for that. Like, that was probably a sticking point that stalled it all in the first place.
And I can't remember which major. It might have been the U.S. Open that finally codified a live exemption moving forward. So I think the PGA Tour, that's basically what we're going to see. We're going to see like an Aon swinging top 5, whatever the hell we call these things. They're just going to hold. They're going to hold 1 to 3 spots in certain tournaments for live golfers. And that's going to be that. And then there's not going to be too much more to it. I think it is kind of like, you guys can live on your own. We have a pathway for your players to come play over here if they ever want to. Hey, Yasser, you ready to cut that check for a Billy?
Yeah. Well, something you mentioned, the pace of play thing, and something that was said that kind of really annoyed me was that it came out that they are going to, the PGA is going to start trying out enforcing the pace of play rules at the Corn Ferry level and actually penalizing players. And that I find that annoying because it's something that is already in place. They've just ignored it. Like, you don't need to, like, it's already in the rules. You don't need to take your time trying it out like it's the pitch clock in the MLB down at the lower levels. Like, just tell the guys, hey, but kind of like the NFL does every year, like, hey, we're going to start really paying attention to this rule this year, so get your shit together. Like, can we just enforce it right away here at the PGA level? Like, we all know it exists. Just give us what we want. Just
Don't-
penalize players.
Or as Brooksy said, start stroking dudes. Don't they already in the NFL though, when they're going to, sometimes, not all the time, but a lot of the times, won't they test out a rule preseason the previous year
Yeah,
before
it's
implementing
usually if
it?
it's a change in the rule, though. Like, this isn't a change. This rule exists.
And that's fair. Like, that's like
Yeah.
saying like, hey, listen, we've been kind of slacking on those offensive holding on the blah blah blah. We're really going to crank down on those kind of. Okay, great. I get it. I just think it's that kind of idea of like, all right, let's test this out to make sure that it's really to work out the kinks, because what they are afraid of is we're at the players 20 million on the line or whatever it is, 15 million to the winner, whatever the hell they get. I think it's 20 now.
I think it's I think the full purse is 20. Is it?
No, winners cut the players golf prize money, $25 million purses. So I think it's 25 million is the purse. Yeah, four and a half to the champion. You're right. Sorry, this is their 2020. And I think the tour champion
That's live golf money, right?
That's that live money, son. He did talk about the pace of play. I agree with you. I think it's kind of chicken shit. I liked Justin Thomas's reaction. He's like, yeah, I'm probably one of those guys on the slower side. Like, I'm part of the problem. Where I thought, what I thought sucked was they said, are you going to give us people's, and are you going to put people on blast for their pace of play? We know you're collecting the data, so are you going to put people on blast? And it sounded like, no, they're just going to give like aggregate data. But then privately, that is how they assess these fines. A lot of the times is what they'll do is after the fact, they can say, and this is how one of the rules is written. If your average shot time is plus or minus, or if it's plus, 4 seconds over the average, then, you do get fined or whatever. So that's kind of the stuff they're talking about. I don't love that either. I think that, and Colin Morikawa said it best. He's like, we don't care about the money. And I love how kind of cheeky he was. He's like, we honestly, we make enough. Granted, he makes enough.
Yeah,
there's 100, there's 150 other struggling tour pros, but I think his point would be, well, I mean, like, yeah, like that's why I'm not worried about it. And I might take my time, and you don't have that luxury. Like, I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
The only currency these guys care about are points. Strokes. I was thinking in tennis because recently a guy in tennis almost got a warning for slow play, but his opponent, and it's Tiapo or whatever. It's a name where he gets picked on a lot for having a hot head or whatever. It's not the dickhead one, but it's another one of a similar nature. And he kind of looked up. I saw the clip. He's like, man, he had taken a breath, and his opponent had to come forward and be like, I wasn't ready. Like, he was waiting on me, and the judge, and so I think that's what we're trying to work out is like, let those moments go through in these Corn Ferry Tour events. And then have a clear cut. No matter what happens, we're going to bitch and moan when somebody gets held accountable. That's the society that we are. We should have 10-second rule there, and you didn't get it on this one. And that's sports, man. That's why it's like, even when the MLB goes to this digital strike zone that they're going to end up using to get rid of home plate umpires, or not get rid of, but they're already doing it, challenging calls and shit.
Although I will say that the challenge call system there seems to be working pretty quickly. It doesn't seem to take too much time. So, I mean, they're working that out.
Well, that's where they got that from tennis too.
Right.
Tennis has had this replay system down pat for years.
Oh yeah. It's so fast. You miss it half the time. You don't even realize that something was challenged. So it's, the strides will be made.
So that's it. PGA Tour is doing fine. They're printing money. Jay's happy. Everybody's got new partnerships, yada, yada, yada. And said it last night, and the last time I'm going to drop it, said it last night on my Fairways and Dreams appearance. They're just gonna have to figure out the commercial break thing, and I think that's what they're looking at, is trying to do much more of what like what the Masters does, just have these long chunks of like 52, 53, 54 minutes, and then have 2 or 3 minute commercial breaks at the top of the hour.
Yeah, which makes sense. Now, did you catch a lot of the tournament this weekend to see the change at the Arnold Palmer with the broadcast as far as the less commercials, the more data driven? Like, did you see any of that this weekend?
I didn't catch much of it, but I did catch
Mhm.
the some of the walk and talk increasing, like those MasterCard,
Right.
through the commercials. And that's what we're talking about. That's what we're picking
Yeah.
up from Live Golf. That's what we want. We want more of that. I have another idea though for them in the game, in the name of growing the game and kind of getting more fun involved. A couple of things. First of all, they need to find their Manning cast. They need to
Right.
find their Pat McAfee or their Peyton Manning or even their Barstool crew who, how they do their streams. They need to find, it might have been Kevin Kisner. I think he might be a little too buttoned up in the 18th tower there. Seriously.
Yeah.
You want that stream going. But I had an alternative idea. There's two. First of all, red zone. We got to get more red zone action. Why aren't we going quad cam when there's 4 shots at the same time? I think people want more of that action. We can steal that idea from
I
the
could follow
NFL.
that dopamine fix. You kidding me?
And here's the opposite end. I want a channel dedicated to just shanks, tanks, 3 putts, and fuck ups. And
That'd
it's
be
a couple of schmucks like you and me, or the country club adjacent guys,
Yeah.
or just some chirpers who sit there and the whole time. And it's not hate; it's much more kind of like, yeah, there he is, one of us. And that maybe
Yeah.
that's the name. Maybe that's the name of the broadcast, one of us. And so in the production
Mhm.
truck, that's all you're looking for. Because I think people forget that it does happen. These guys have some
Yeah.
wild misses, and it doesn't have to be a shank. It could just be a dead hook that goes 35 yards left of the green, and it's like,
Right.
that's me. I've been there.
Yeah, and it'd be kind of funny. Like, have you seen those videos of the beer league hockey guys, but they broadcast it and do the commentary as if it's in like an
Yeah.
actual NHL game, and they just shit on the guys the whole time. It was
Crushing it.
that would be a ton
Crushing
of
it.
fun to watch. That would be a ton of fun to do. I am curious to see if this. I haven't really caught it yet. I got maybe this weekend I'll be able to. I'll spend some time watching it. But the ESPN bet channel that they were talking about doing.
Yeah.
I believe that's live for this now, so I got to check that out because maybe that is what you're talking about as far as like the Manning cat, like that style. Like maybe it gets to be that style if they get the right people in there. So I haven't checked that out yet. I got to and see what that looks like. Let's get into, because we only got about 12 minutes left here. Let's get into the nuts and bolts about the players. Because we want to provide some people some plays this week, which we haven't done yet this year. But also if you haven't seen it, fantasycares.org, the organization that puts together Scott Fishbowl. If you're a football fan, and you know what Scott Fishbowl is. I've been in it for the last 3 or 4 years. They decided to do a season-long golf challenge now that starts this week with the players. So get over there to fantasycares.org, join that, and it's a one-and-done style. Money value, one each week equals the points that you have, and whoever has the most points at the end of the year wins. There's multiple prizes, Scott Fishbowl entries. I believe there's an Xbox as an entry. There's Golf Galaxy gift cards. So a lot of fun. Get over there and do that. I'm going to try to share my one and done pick each week here for that as it goes. And we'll start right there. My one and done pick for this week, and I'm going to, for the first week here, just trust the numbers, trust the model. I'm just going to go with Xander. I'm going to use Xander here this week. Just going to right out the gate, just use Xander here this week. Even though there's a lot of value, I think some of these guys are going to be able to pop in some other tournaments too. I like Xander this week because he's number one in my model, and I got to trust that and see how it goes. Since I haven't really been doing too much of that yet this year with the model making, that's where I'm going to go this week. I'm going to go with Xander to hopefully snag a win for me in the one and done this week.
I like it. I actually was just in your model. That's why I was laughing. I'm like, why is that? Oh, we're in his model. I'm looking at your model.
Right.
I was actually just looking for the ball striking category. I really don't care
Yep.
about anything else because I was just kind of curious. That's usually my go-to, especially at TBC Sawgrass where it's target golf. You don't want the ball to run too much. You want to just hit it, have it stop, walk up, find it, hit it, have it stop. Hopefully hit a couple putts. And somebody like Kurt Kitayama, who had that big breakthrough at the API a couple of years ago, he's at the top of that list. But I'm not that insane. I'm not going to hang my hat on Kurt Kitayama.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Xander coming back from the injury still, that soft tissue injury. Shout out Brian for joining us again.
Yeah.
I think Xander might not be ready for this just yet. And that's bulletin board material for that Bulldog X.
How dare you disagree with me?
besmirch that man's name. I'm riding with Colin Morikawa this
Okay.
week. He
Playing good.
came very close last week. He's not the kind of golfer who lets a letdown like that, and that's a straight up letdown. Three shot lead, 5 to play. Like, come on now. Yeah, well, I mean, he would even say that. He would even say that. Like, yeah, you gotta
100%.
button that up. You gotta just
Yeah.
par that sumbitch in, and make it happen. But this is a hard game, and those are hard courses they're playing. But if he's hitting the ball that good, which he is, and I think that's shown through his pricing at 10.5 there at DraftKings. But if I would say that of those people in the double-digit salary range in that top tier, down from Patrick Cantlay all the way up to Scotty up top, you can't go wrong with anybody except for maybe Xander. But I'm just kidding. But Colin Morikawa is my guy. I want to go with Ludwig Oberg, which thanks to Full Swing, we all say it correctly.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe he's a robot, but this is just a hard place to win early.
Yeah, it is. Another guy that is actually, if you're looking at DK money, it's a value 6,700, but ranks third in my model and really hits some of these key stats. JJ Spawn, someone who's first in approach is ninth in ball striking, ninth in par fours, 450 to 500. And then he's middle of the field for putting, and then he's top 30 for 200-yard out approach shots. So he's someone who's his current game so far this year is setting up nicely for this week. I believe his recent finishes, if I'll bring that up, I believe he's fared pretty well so far this year. Let's see, he's 31st this past week at the Arnold Palmer. He finished second at the Cognizant, 34th at the Genesis, and 33rd at Pebble, 15th at the Farmers. So he's got a nice string of going all the way back to the start of the year. 3rd at the Sony Open, 29th at the Amex. So yeah, he's in good form right now. He's doing good on strokes gained total. He's positive in all those tournaments I just listed. So JJ Spawn is someone for a very cheap price and low ownership. Should be able to show out for you this week and hopefully get you like a top 15 finish. If you're doing something that has money value involved to match points, kind of like the one and done contest I was just talking about, JJ Spawn could be a steal for you.
I like that. I don't hate that at all, especially JJ Spawn. You don't normally see somebody break through with their first tour win here, and that was my only question mark. But he's got the 22 Valero under his belt, so that's all the confidence you need to then come here to HQ, to the mothership. I was being sincere. You thought that I was talking shit about the
I did. I thought you were being
Texas
sarcastic. Yeah, I thought you were.
I was being sincere. It's this. I don't.
My
I'm
bad.
trying to think. Let's find out. Let's get Jamie to look this up. Who won their first PGA Tour win at the Players? Let's see if I even said that right. I don't know.
Has it been done?
First time winners.
I will also look it up in case you are putting it in.
This is I mean, that's how many golfers? Okay, past champions. These 15 golfers. I don't know.
No, I'm just seeing like the full list of all-time winners, which I don't have the time to go through.
What are you doing? This is great. This is great television, isn't it?
I know it is. I guess the big question this week though is will Scotty be able to go three-peat here at the Players? I'm not calling it this year. He does rank out okay in my model, but that's no surprise. He's a stat machine. I'm going mostly off of just he seems to be in a bit of a lull, which a lull for him is still like a top 30 finish, so it's not that big of a deal. But as far as winning it, I'm not sure he's in winning form at this very moment coming into this week. Now, Scotty's someone who could turn it on and totally just go out there and flip the switch and run away with it again. I just don't see that happening this week.
Scotty, no, I don't see it either. I think again, him and Xander similarly coming off of injuries.
You're just gonna keep bringing the Xander up, aren't you?
I wasn't. Here's the thing: he was on my fade. He was like my fade of the week anyway.
Okay.
Because I think he on paper sets up perfectly for this place, but I just think you take strokes gained home life where he's been battling this injury and he's coming back from it. I don't see it happening.
He looked great at TGL last week, though. He should be fine now.
So did Tiger. Actually, that's not true. Tiger hasn't looked great at TGL. To answer
No,
the
yeah.
question, there have been 2 players who got their maiden victory at the
Okay.
Players Championship in 2002. In his first appearance at the Players Championship, Craig Perks finished eagle birdie par to win by 2 shots over Stephen Ames. This victory marked Craig's only PGA Tour win. Stephen Ames, famous of running his goddamn mouth and having Tiger set him straight a couple of years ago. Well, anything's possible. This is in match play at the
Yeah.
anything's deep WGC match play. Tiger won 18 WGCs when they were a thing. And at the match play, well, where anything's possible where he's hitting it. And I love Tiger's comment after he wins 8 and 9 or whatever it was, 9 and 10. He just says, I think he understands now. Fucking beautiful. And then Timmy Clark in 2010, after 8 runner-up finishes, Clark captures his first PGA Tour title at the Players Championship, becoming the second golfer to make the Players his first tour victory. So 52, 51, this is the 51st playing. It's not the 51st time at the Players Championship. If you go back into your history, Jack Nicklaus has won this 3 times. Never once has he won at Sawgrass. But 51 playings, 2 kind of people who pop their cherry, to use a not safe for work. It's what time is it? It's the kids are in bed.
It's
We can talk about popping cherries on divots and pivots.
We can. Well, I mean, we've talked about worse. I feel like it's just what we do here. Yeah. So
that's a bad joke.
That's okay. We can skip past that. A few other guys, like I said, that you just might want to pay attention to. Michael Kim, like I said, he's in good form right now. You might as well try to ride that to at least
like that.
Maybe not to win, obviously, but to just do well. I like that. I am going to stay away from Russell Henley coming off the win at the Arnold. Scotty is the only one who's put us to shame last year as far as the back-to-back wins goes with that. So I don't see Russell Henley pulling that off. But then a name to watch out for as well, who's been playing well, and it's good to see him playing well again, is Daniel Berger. Just don't be surprised if he's up there on Sunday, just in the mix. Once again, not necessarily to win, but just in the mix, making it interesting. Daniel Berger is just a good story to hope to see good, do good this week.
Speaking of good stories and doing good this week, we talked about the New Zealand golfer, right? The former biker gang member last week.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Good. Wanted to make sure of that. Back to you in the studio.
That was a wonderful interjection there.
Well, it's a week gone by, and I was watching earlier on the TikToks the closing scene, the final scene from Sons of Anarchy. I'd never seen the show ever, but where the homeboy, spoiler alert,
I've never seen it either. So.
The very closing scene, one of the main characters bicycle chase. There's cops in the background. He just kind of lets go of the bike. Jesus, take the wheel right to a semi, and that's how it ends. Made me think of the New Zealand bicycle, bike gang guy. And had he not found golf, who knows? He could have gone Sons of Anarchy on us. Yeah, man, it's an exciting week. The Players Championship. I like some of those guys. Michael Kim, I do like, especially. It's funny. There seems to be this correlation of when players bubble to the top of our social media feeds and how good they're playing on the course. And I don't know if that's the algorithm at work, or if just the natural. Hey, when I'm performing, I'm confident and I'm going to put myself out there. I will say the 2 guys that I wish we did have here, Dustin Johnson's not one of them. He is not doing well at all. He played like dog shit again on Live. I think he got his bag and he's just in early retirement. These Live contracts are coming up, and I don't see some of these guys re-signing like Dustin Johnson. But I would like to see Brooksy and Bryson on this course, because I think we're going to see that. I think Fred Couples saying what he said, and then Phil. I think it was Phil or somebody from Live being like, Fred's an asshole. He shouldn't talk.
I'm pretty sure it was Phil. It's always Phil.
Phil Mickelson, Fred.
I think he just said it was a
Live.
It was basically like a dick move, basically.
Oh, jerk move. He called him a jerk move.
Yeah.
No, it's not a jerk move. He's being honest. And after seeing Brooksy hanging out, being lovey-dovey at TGL, after the Freddie comments, and after these contracts coming to an end, I think reunification is in the future in more than one way.
Yep, I totally agree, and I'm here for it. Would love to see it. And what I'm really looking forward to seeing the players this weekend. It's going to be a fun weekend. I'm going to be missing all day Saturday because my daughter's going to dance competition, but I will be locking in on Sunday for the St. Paddy's Day from my uncle's Irish pub. Sit there, watch some golf, listen to some Irish music, and drink some pints, and just enjoy yourself.
I can't wait for the outfit. I think that the Killian's is what we would that's like when you drank all your own beer and you're looking for like it's like 2 in the morning. You're like, wait a minute, I think my dad has some Killian's out in the fridge. We can crank that back and finish this game. I'll be interested to see. Back in the day when this was in May, they'd finish on Mother's Day on Sundays, and
Right.
everybody'd be wearing pink. Let's see if all the guys are going to show up in green, even though green is usually reserved for Augusta and or Waste Management. But it's going to be St. Patrick's Day, and if you've never
We'll
been to the
see.
Players, it is a party.
Yeah, we'll see some for sure. But that will do it for us here tonight on Divots and Pivots. We're here every Tuesday, 8 o'clock, right here on that Sports Podcast Network. Divots and Pivots, Snowman Media, Twitter, wherever. Catch on the weekend as well. Good Morning Wood. I'm bringing you just whatever nonsense is jumping in. I did the Cupid Shuffle this past
Gotcha.
weekend. So that's the type of
You nailed it.
of nonsense. I thought I
You
nailed
nailed
it.
it.
But like I said, that's going to do it for us. We hope you have a great night. And as always, stay classy. We love you.